Okay, welcome everybody. The zoning board of review is now in session. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Ben Farrell present.
Sue Horwitz present.
Paul Lorenzo present.
Marco DiMartino present.
Eric Proposa present. Next item is approval of the meeting minutes from the previous month of
April.
September.
Well,
There's some from April,
April.
June.
There is?
August.
Oh, geez, excuse me. Approval from April 18th. Approval for June 20th and August 15th.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of April 13th, 2024, June 20th, 2024, and August 18th, 2024, or August 15th, 2024, without changes.
You need a second?
Second. All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to old business. We have a continuance from last meeting, John Canale, property located at 59 Ferreira Avenue, tax assessor map 48, lot 35V, zone residential R20. The applicant seeks 20-foot rear yard dimensional variance to install an in-ground swimming pool 10 feet from the property line. Mr. Canale? You state your name and swear to tell the truth for the record?
John Canale, what to say? I swear to tell the truth.
There you go. And
Stacy Canale, I swear to tell the truth.
It's my wife.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So it's just following up from our last, meeting. I did take some pictures, of the property to kind of just follow up on what we had discussed before. I know there was a question last time about, the patio, and really where the pool kind of had to be positioned, and why we needed this. So a little bit further context and follow-up on why we need that. So these pictures have the patio, the completed patio that wasn't available previously from the satellite image or plans. So you can see where the patio comes out, and then also thank you, Stacy, where the propane tank comes through. So that picture there on the right is the tank that comes kind of perpendicular to the fence, underneath the fence there. So there was a question at one time of why we couldn't push it back. And that's really the main reason there, was the propane tank was, in the way. On the your right side there, the fence, really where we positioned the fence was, we put the fence there, due to, the budget that we kind of allowed for the fence, as you know, it's pricey at the time. So, this picture on your right is kind of where we, proposed the fence, actually proposed the pool. So on the right side there, fence, is kind of, where the variance is needed. Because really that's the only spot on the property that would allow that to work, so. Including here on the Google Earth photo where the propane tank is, so just showing you where we really wouldn't have any room to push the pool back from the back of the property too far back, just due to where the propane tank is located under the ground, and also where the patio extends from the back of the house. On your left, that would be kind of where the edge of the pool kind of patio would be. It's not a lot of ton of room. Obviously, it's a smaller pool. This company we work with is basically the smallest pool they would allow. So that edge of the pool patio, the pool would be like kind of right off of that. So again, on your right side, that's really where we would kind of put it. On the far back portion again, so there's a 15-foot setback from the side of the yard. So we're within that on the right right side of the property. Picture from the back of the house, and then, the backyard down that way, see where the dog is, past that, it really kind of dips down, so it's a pretty, steep,
Yeah, so you would still need the variance on that end of the yard, and then you would be building the pool into a hill. So, I mean, the picture doesn't do justice. The yard's just, it's on a hill.
just dips
And
down.
it just gets really wet down there too.
Exactly. And then really where the pool would be positioned is kind of like the most like neutral, farthest away, right? From all the other houses like in the neighborhood. If you put it down there, you'd be closer.
Yeah, so we set the pool off, a little bit so it wasn't directly behind our neighbor, behind us, behind their house. So it's, it's off to the right, so it's not directly behind their house. And then, I mean, the houses are all pretty evenly spaced apart. So I think no matter where you put the pool, the noise is gonna be the same, no matter where.
Any questions from board members?
Just wonder, the email that's attached, is that, which neighbor is that from?
So we don't have our, HOAs in place yet. So for the HOA agreement, the, Craig Realty, the developer of
This
the.
is an HOA, it's not your neighbor, any of your specific neighbors.
Oh, I can tell you that we had a, cookout, what was that, a few weeks ago?
A few weeks ago,
And everybody asked us about it, and they were pretty shocked that
everybody was pretty shocked.
we have a lot of families in the neighborhood. That were kind of excited that we could invite everybody over, so,
Pretty close neighborhood.
yeah, everyone's pretty
Yeah.
tight.
Good questions?
Yes, sir, I have a couple questions. Just to make sure I understand, you're proposing that the pool is in the same position as it was last month?
Yeah.
Okay,
The questions everyone had was about the patio,
yes,
which wasn't visual, you couldn't visually see it,
right.
before, and now you can. So again, that patio picture there in the plans is actually not, the deck was actually.
Yeah, I think the pictures that you brought this time definitely helped us better understand the underground propane thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
We
you
want you to have a
can't-
pool. We don't want you to not have a pool. We're just trying to understand better why
You
it
just
couldn't
can't dig
fit.
there.
What's the distance from the patio to the fence?
The patio to the fence. So it was 50 feet from the back of the property line to the, I don't know exactly. But the patio wasn't much, I don't know, what's that, about 15 feet from the foundation to the end of the patio? It kind of like curves out a little bit right here. So that would be like the back edge of the pool there.
The edge of the pool, I think, is 10 feet. So I imagine probably a 3 foot,
Yeah,
yeah, like a 3 foot,
Yeah.
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, it's about,
Yeah.
exactly, it's
Yeah.
pretty tight.
about 7 feet.
Yeah.
We had, the patio had to be like the smallest possible.
Yeah, it was just like it's like it's just like a little concrete
We're
thing.
just
Can
trying
we go to that aerial view of the, yes, that one?
That's my best drawing job.
So you see, with that picture, where would the pool be?
Yep,
Right there.
Okay, on your side of the wooden, of the fence?
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the fence is how far from is right on the property line?
Yeah,
Fence is
the
on.
back fence is right on the property line. This one, I had moved in, I just didn't have the money to go
All the way
all
out.
the way out, all the way over. It was COVID or whatever, it was pretty, I had to get the fence up there. I was traveling a lot for work. Stacy was home with, our baby was,
3 months old
yeah, and, you can see my,
with a dog.
engineering fence there, right there, that was that little
winter.
patch of, I bought sod and threw that down and put the most horrific, like, just orange fencing up so she could let the dog out while the
worked.
baby
It
was.
worked.
All right, anybody else? Questions? Butters or interested parties? Vote,
Yes, I move.
Yes.
We vote?
can we get a second?
I wasn't here for the first presentation. Is it appropriate for me to vote?
How would that work if,
Did you just hear the application?
I did.
Did you
Um,
review the application materials?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Good.
what? You can vote yet.
I didn't vote yet. I just want to know if I can vote.
Yeah. Well, somebody has to put a motion to it.
Okay, so I make a motion that I'm really torn on this because the town has established these setbacks to maintain the quality of life of residents in the town. And sort of moving into those things, we've had variances approved in the past where there were, septic systems in the way, mature trees, big rocks, things like that. In this case, it seems like one of the major things keeping the pool where it is the applicant's decision where to put their fence.
No, I disagree.
I think we've had our time to discuss and present. I think from here on out, it's voting, not to be rude,
Yeah.
but I just trying to keep some order.
Yeah, because it's a pretty blank yard, new house, blank yard, quite a bit of room in there to position that thing, to position a pool. And the propane tank is relatively close to the house. The patio is relatively close to the house. If that fence wasn't there, then you could even rotate the pool 90 degrees and move it north.
Still need a variance.
But would you need less of a variance?
No, because the back edge would be against, it would be the same.
Are we
Oh, that,
voting or are we
we're,
discussing?
correct,
Did we make a motion to vote or? do we-
yeah, we're voting.
So I just,
Yeah, so I just need to vote.
do we need to have, I don't want to go backwards, but
You can discuss a motion.
I think I'm
we're
ready.
going
to
to
vote.
discuss.
Well, no, I think as I've walked through this, I think I'm ready to vote. Mr. Chairman, I vote to deny the petition. It's, some of the criteria for awarding a dimensional variance are that the hardship is a result of, that the hardship may or may not be a result of something the applicant did. And I believe that the fence is one of the driving factors in where the pool is being located. Another criteria is that the hardship in order to grant a variance is due to the nature of the property. And in this case, we have a pretty wide open property with the exception of that fence. And I believe there are other places where the pool could be moved. So for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I vote to deny the variance.
Okay. Ms. Horowitz?
So I'm going to vote to deny, and the main reason is I look at your setbacks, it's 49.7. You said you had a small patio. The patio, if you take out the 49.7, which is what's on your survey from your property line to your house, you have 10 foot for the pool and you have 16 foot the width of the pool. That leaves you 27 feet. That's not a small patio. So 23.7, sorry, 23.7 feet. If you take 23.7 plus 10 plus 16, you equal the 49.7. And I'm not sure, that's not a small patio, 23.7 in depth. So I'm not sure why the setback has to be only 10. So for that reason, I'm going to deny the application.
Mr. Lorenzo?
At this point, it's a moot point, but I vote to deny for reasons previously stated.
Just a simple majority. They changed the law, it says it had to be
Okay, all right.
simple majority.
It's really
That's fine.
disappointing You know, I've been a lifelong resident of Portsmouth. I grew up here, I went to Portsmouth, I went to Hathaway.
John.
It's ridiculous, it's ridiculous, it's ridiculous. You know, I've been, yeah, it's.
Let him finish first.
It's a moot point, you said.
No, it is a
Majority.
one. I vote to approve. I don't think, there's nobody here objecting to this. I don't think that will have any adverse effects on neighbors.
Okay. Mr. DiMartino?
I'm leaning towards approving because, like, I guess my vote will be to approve. He brought more pictures. I have a better understanding of the propane tank. I would have liked him to do more planning ahead of time, but I don't see that this pool is really going to be, the rules are there for a reason and we built them there for over times, but I think that the reason we're here is to make sure that the rules aren't inhibiting a lifestyle of the community and for them as well. I don't want it to inhibit their use of their property. So I think I'm gonna vote to approve.
Okay. The chairman, it's not an easy decision because the rules and regulations are there. But after
didn't have a date to go, oh, this band could now play on this night instead. So we're just going to keep these two empty, the 20th and 27th, just as a holding place for if one of the other nights has to be canceled because of weather, because inevitably it's going to happen to us. So don't like to think about that. But outside of that, we are just looking to do the same thing we did this past summer. I put in here that we would keep our conditions the same as they were for the music event, which is a ticketed event, private event, and then the other free nights. They would all be the same notes that were added to our application last year by Mr. Nutt. So we just wanted to continue on with those. They worked out well. We have met with police and fire. They didn't see any issues. One night we had a little bit of a challenge, the Ravers night with parking, only because we parked as many cars as we could on our lot. But the neighborhood still saw some other parking challenges. So we talked to the police about other ways to mitigate that. But one of the ways that we've discussed is potentially doing a Sunday event instead of just Wednesday nights. If it was on a Sunday and it was that kind of popular band, more people would carpool. The problem with our nights is, 5:30 at night on a Wednesday means everybody shows up from work, and we have a lot of people driving one vehicle per person to the property to enjoy the music, which does make for a challenge for parking some nights. But only on the one real night that we've seen a major issue, and if we could put them on a Sunday afternoon or early evening, it would probably make for just an easier night from a parking and traffic control standpoint.
any questions from the board?
I have a couple questions. Sure. Mr. Gray, you have 2 rain dates programmed in?
The hope is to use the August 20th and 27th dates, the last 2 weekends, the last 2 Wednesdays of August as dates where I don't book any acts, in the theory that we could, put somebody at that date, move somebody from say a canceled Wednesday of the 16th to one of the other 2 dates, if we could.
If you end up having all good days, would you still use the 20th and the 27th?
I put in here that we might hire a local band to fill the slot. It's hard to do that with, a week or two notice. And typically the last 2 weekends of the summer are our quietest weekends for the whole series. People are getting their lives back together for the upcoming fall season, and for whatever reason, things just kind of die off then. So having those two as open dates, we could possibly play music outside, may not be like the concert that we have all the other weeks, but we do like to have a little bit of live music on Wednesdays anyway.
Right, I just wondered if you wanted, if I add those up, there are 14 dates in total. If you wanted a special use permit for 14 events.
Sure.
Or for 12 events.
Yeah, I did indicate on the next paragraph, that if we didn't use those for rain dates, we could accommodate, we could potentially fill it with a local band if there was somebody available.
Perfect. So it'll be 14 days.
I actually have 15 dates because the June 7th and 8th are a singular date. Those are 2 dates. And my math was 15, but.
Oh, yeah, yes, I was counting 7 and 8 as one event. You're right.
Yeah, we did 10 last year. We had 10 dates last year, so this is a few more, but we're going, the last week of June is typically kind of like really the first summer week around here once school's out and everything, so I'd like to add that one in. And then,
Is it 16? I mean, I never
yeah,
was.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
To get it straight.
I got 14. The other dates, it's either July 6th or 13th, or the 10th or the 17th. It's not
Oh,
both.
those aren't the rain
Okay.
dates.
Those aren't,
Oh,
yeah, the 10th or the 17th would be, so right now we're trying to book acts, so I don't know who's going to be available. So
Sorry about
if, I don't want to take 4 Sundays, I just want to do 2 Sundays,
Got it.
but have flexibility among those dates so we could book the right acts for those days.
Got it.
14.
That's all I have, sir.
Anyone else?
Just one question actually for Aaron. Have there been any complaints from last year?
No, not that I have seen. I haven't got any written complaints or anything like that. There was one, as he mentioned, there was a parking issue on one night, but other than that, they have support from police and fire.
Thank you.
I have a question, I guess, as well, Farron. The last time we approved this, I think we made it subject to a sound variance from the town council.
Yep, and I think he already put that in.
That's in the application as well. We would obviously need the sound variance from the town council for this as well.
You had nobody complained about,
No, they actually
Sound.
took readings and it was under.
Really?
Yeah, we hired a company to manage all the sound for the whole summer, and I made it
Oh, you did?
implicit that they get when we let the bands do it themselves 2 years ago, some of them put the volume up a little higher because they like to hear themselves echoing. But
what level was the sound variance, is the sound variance being?
there wasn't a decibel level assigned to it, but the variance was granted last year with no decibel. Again, I don't want to blow away my neighbors. I don't want to, doesn't
I
need to
guess
be
it
that way.
depends on how good the band is.
Depends and which way the wind blows.
That's
Anything else? So just piggybacking on the parking issue, I see, looks like you've added some additional parking this season. Is that-
This season we added parking, and we only had the one night where it was a challenge, and we have in the original packet, we put an aerial picture of that, and you can see from 2 years ago to this past year, how much more parking we had, and we still couldn't park enough cars, which is why I'm leaning towards putting that band, the Ravers, on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday evening versus a Wednesday night, because it seems to draw a crowd. But with everybody coming from work, it would be better if they all could carpool, and they would do that most likely on a Sunday, more so than they do it on a Wednesday night.
So these lots, they'll be well directed or signed.
Yeah, we had a bunch of, high school kids out there managing traffic for us. We have an event operation manager works for us who was out there all day. I was out there, my general manager, my wife, everybody we can get for these nights.
Yeah, it's pretty commendable. There hasn't been any complaints really that, I know, with that many people, but, anybody else up here?
No, sir.
Abutters or interested parties?
There's nobody online.
Nobody online. Okay. So, would you like to make a motion to vote?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the, oh,
You get a second?
Second.
Second.
Would you like to lead us off, Mr.?
oh, yes, sir. I vote to approve the application. Ragged Island this is probably your third year,
It's our third year. Yeah.
and it's been getting better every time, learning from, fine tuning the machine to make it even less, to, eliminate any issues that come up. So I think Ragged Island has been a good neighbor, and this is a good thing to have in the summer, so I vote to approve.
Swords?
I vote to approve for reasons stated out there.
I vote to approve as well, the reason stated by Ben.
Martino?
I vote to approve because I know how much you guys are doing in the community and you hired all these people extra to make it work, so, and for reasons previously stated.
Chairman also votes to approve. With reasons previously stated, I think you guys are doing a great job and doing your best to make these events happen, and I've heard a lot of good things, and a lot of people, it's like a big reunion up there.
It's a lot of Portsmouth people.
Wish you the best of luck and
Thank you,
year to
guys.
come.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, last item on the agenda tonight. We have looking upwards. Denise Luthier, I botched that, I apologize. We're looking upwards for property located at 1184 East Main Road, tax assessors map 58, lot 51. The applicant seeks a special use permit for off-site directional signage. Section B, in a dimensional signage variance for an additional wall-mounted signs. Please state your name and
My name is Jeffrey Castle. I'm attorney for Looking Upwards, and I swear to tell the truth.
tell us what you'd like to do.
Good evening. As the chair indicated, we're here looking for a special use variance for signs at the property at 1184 East Main Street. As you all may be aware, the entrance to 1184 East Main Street is actually on Beaupre Avenue off of East Main. It's 1170 East Main. You have to go up the hill and it basically dead ends, and then there's a right turn. We want to put a sign there, and you have in the application the pictures as to where the signs are going to be. We have administrative offices, and we also have Lily Frog, which is a school for pre-K and kindergarten children up to as many as 78 children. So we have a lot of people coming in the mornings, dropping off their children. We want to be able to make sure from a safety and access perspective that they know exactly where 1184 is. While 1184 is a large building and visible from East Main Street, when you come up Beaupre, which is the only entrance, you don't know where it is when you get to the top of that hill unless you have a sign that's going to be able to point you in that direction. Once you make that right turn at the top of the hill, we are proposing a second sign because there is the building at 1170. There is a facility behind it that is a marine facility, and we need to have additional signage to be able to point people in the exact direction of 1184. If you've been up on that top of the hill, it's a little confusing as to whether you go to the right or you go to the left. So we need a special use variance for signage to be able to point the parents, especially who are dropping off in the morning, their children, and doing so obviously in a safe manner. We're also concerned about, obviously, once the parents learn, if others, aunts and uncles, grandparents are coming to pick up children in the afternoon, they may be confused. So again, a safety and access issue to have those signs present and showing people exactly where to go. The other requested variance is for signage on the building. There are two signs that would face East Main Road, and there are two signs on top, and you have pictures in your packet as to where those signs would be placed. And second signs on the back of the buildings to, again, show people where they're going and where the building actually is. Because in that complex, there are 3 or 4 different buildings. So we just want to make sure that everybody knows where Looking Upward offices are and where Lily Frog is when they're dropping their children off. From the point of view of East Main Road, we're looking for signs. The building is about 200 feet set back from the road, and larger signs will make the building more visible in terms of where it is as you're driving down East Main Road, so you know which building you're looking at in terms of coming in. Again, access and safety. As I was driving up there tonight, I had no idea there's a sign, but you know, if you have something large that can actually show you where it is, especially on a commercial street, it makes it much easier to be able to see it and to slow down and to know that at the light, you're going to make that right turn and go from there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board?
Yes, sir. Sure. What is your name again, sir?
Jeff Tassel,
Tassel, Mr. Tassel?
K-A-S-L-E.
Are these considered two separate entities? The Lily Frog and the Looking Upwards?
Well, Lily Frog is run by Looking Upwards.
Okay. It's an important issue in terms of the variances, because our sign ordinance is sort of per entity. So for example, an entity can have, according to the ordinances now, can have up to 2 directional signage, two directional signs, each one 4 square feet, so 2 by 2.
Mhm.
Which I believe the signs that you have are quite a bit larger than that.
I believe one is 4 by 5 and one is 3 by 3.
Yeah, so 20 square feet versus a ordinance value of 4 square feet.
True, but if you've been up to that property, and you know how that road goes up and sort of dead ends there, and you're not looking at any building, you really need a sign that's large enough to let folks know where they're supposed to go.
Well, absolutely. I had driven up there yesterday and I couldn't tell where to go.
Neither could I.
I was just wondering. Sorry. And in terms of, there will be 2 directional signs.
That's correct. One at the top of of Beaupre, and then when you make that right turn,
And there's another right turn.
there's another right turn, and it's right there,
I-
that second sign.
Photographs are pretty helpful. And then will there'll be another sign on the west side of the building?
Yes. I'm not sure directionally which way this is.
On this,
Are we, I'm not
on
sure.
the side away from the street?
Yeah, on the other,
side
on
away
the
from-
other side, there'll be 2 signs facing East Main Road, and then there'll be 2 signs, one on top of the other, and you have a picture there with the number 1184 that's on the opposite side.
Because, so I understand the directional signs. In terms of signs on the building to tell people where you are, most of or at least many of the businesses along East Main Road, they actually have a sign closer, not on the building, close to the road.
Correct.
So that as you're driving down either north or south, it's sort of there with the characters looking at me, the text looking at me, as opposed to having to look 90 degrees and catch your signage.
The issue with that is that that frontage for that building at 1184 is playground area for all the children that are in Lily Frog. So there's a huge playground area that's fenced that you can't see from the street. And that's why having the signage on the building, makes more sense in terms of being able to see it.
All right, so it's a conscious decision. Because the building directly north of you has a sign pretty close to the road, that almost blocks the view of your building as you're coming up that way.
And many of the businesses, not to interrupt, but many of the businesses along this road have signs as you described. Absolutely.
Yeah, because I actually turned onto your one-way road thinking that was the way, and there was nothing telling me, don't go that way. So all of a sudden I saw that. So,
Well, there is a sign just before that road, which basically says, go to Beaupre.
go to the light, I think.
Go to the light, yes, and then make the turn. I just happened to see that as I was going past it.
Eric, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can we just clarify a few things? Just because there's a lot to this, I think, is how many signs, the size of the signs. Because if I'm correct, or it says per frontage, you can have up to 40 square feet.
Correct.
Is the maximum. And if there's multiple use tenants, it would be divided by how many tenants are there. So that's one question. That would be directed at the front.
Well, there are two tenants in the building. One is looking upwards, one is Lily Frog. The setback, as I understand it, is approximately 200 feet, which is why we have the need for larger signs than the normal 40 square feet. What we're looking at is, and you have the photograph in the packet, one is a 5 by 25 and one is a 5 by 20 on either side of the building as it fronts East Main Road.
So 100 square feet and 125
125 square feet.
We're
And there were signs of a similar size, I believe. I'm not
no, I
100%
totally understand. I think
previously.
I don't disagree with what you're doing or the look, or I think it looks great. I think part of what we take into consideration now is precedent, right? Because we don't want to
Sure.
see this everywhere. So it's how much is necessary. And I just wanted to clarify what is acceptable, what would make sense, and what would get your point across without kind of going too far in one direction, then we'll kind of, could snowball in the future as a reference for others. And now, with that said, I totally support what's going on here. It's my kids have gone to Countryside, and I don't even think their sign is 40 square feet. I'm not comparing one to the other, but it's a very similar atmosphere. Half the time you drive through the commercial or industrial area, and the other part you'll come right off East Main Road, which is neither are ideal, but we've found our way, right? Because, so what makes it any different, or what makes it necessary? I understand the safety reason, but why, maybe they haven't asked for it, but it's worked for them without all of the signage. How come it couldn't work for you? Or is there a way that we could, maybe think about something like this, and this, and then
We're
we've-
certainly, in terms of the building signage, I think that it's fair to say that we're flexible with respect to what you're looking at. From my perspective in looking at the building, while the size, the 125 square feet, the 100 square feet is certainly significantly larger than 40 square feet, the setback and the size of the building really makes those two signs almost less obtrusive, because the building is so large and it's so far set back from the road that it just doesn't, it's not in your face the way a large sign might be in a different location. And I
Yeah,
think one of the worries that you're expressing.
I can agree with that. It's more or less becomes a slippery slope. And I don't know if you can clarify on some of these, if
There's a lot here.
there's a lot of,
There's a lot here.
if this, then that. So I just want to make sure that we all base a decision on the facts and nobody gets shortchanged, so to speak, or we don't understand. Because I do understand it looks proportional on the building, but again, when I looked around and tried to do some comparisons, I've seen other buildings that have a smaller one, and I didn't measure it, but you know, it's worked for 20, 30 years. So I'm not using that as the sole. I'm
No,
not trying to say that's how it should be, but I just wanted to get the facts of, you know,
I guess
I'm
the
a little
question,
newer to this, Jim, you know, and I want to make sure
Me too.
we all understand that.
I'm new to it as well. I guess, Mr. Chairman, the question is, if not 5 by 25 or 5 by 20, what makes sense? Because from my perspective, looking at that building from the road with a 200-foot setback, a 4 by 10 sign is pretty small. So, and I'm just not sure what it is that,
Yeah.
you know, if we were to attempt to compromise on something, what would be,
I agree. I don't have the answer at the moment. I kind of wanted Aaron to chime in if there was anything you could just clarify as far as, is my assumptions, or is my interpretation of this correct with the 40 square feet divided by 2? And then how, can you clarify what we're allowed for each of these and what?
Well, first of all, it's signs permitted by special use permit. Any sign not in conformance with the provisions of this ordinance in regards to permitted number of signs, sign area, height, or location. That's like an overarching special use permit provision that we have. We could just blanket approve it with that provision, but in there, we have specific criteria. In the specific criteria, you have signs permitted by special use permit, off-site directional signs, which allow that 4 square feet for off-site directional. And you have under, let's see, picture A 2B, which is 4 by 5, which is both signs is 20 square feet, allowed is 8, so it's a 12 square foot variance. Here is 3B, which is 3 by 3, allowed, you know, it's 9, allowed 8, so that's a 1 foot square variance. So that's under the special use. We could just overarch everything under a special use permit. When it comes to wall-mounted signs, that's also under the number of signs permitted in a special use permit. 1 square foot for each 2 lineal square feet of building frontage, with a maximum of 40 square feet. Now, I didn't see, so it would be a variance for 2 wall-mounted signs per establishment. They already have 1 on the north facade here on number 4, and then they want, of course, this over here on, I had it right there, on 11 and 12. So assuming that the building facade, I would say it's 100, that is almost I was assuming it would be 100 feet of linear area there. For 11 and 12, they have 5 by 25 and 5 by 20. So assuming 100 feet of building frontage, 100 feet divided by 2, 50 square feet, divided by 2 establish 25 square feet for each sign. So that the 5 by 25 is 125, allowed 25, so 100 square foot variance. 5 by 12 is 5 by 20, 100, allowed 25, and it's a 75 square foot variance. So that's the details in it. But we could, you guys could approve it as a special use permit, knowing these calculations, and just permit it with special use permit because of the requirement of the signs permitted by special use permit is any sign not in conformance with the provisions listed here, to permitted number of signs, sign area, and that's what we're dealing with.
Can you go back to the third sign, that one?
Yep.
That's 6 by 7, whatever 6 by 7 is, 42 square feet. And what is the permissible?
80. Because it's both sides, so that 6 by 7 is both of those. It's not individually 6 by 7 and 6 by 7. 6 by 7, all of that sign is 6 by 7, so it's 42 square feet allowed for each establishment, 40 for each establishment, which is 80. So that doesn't really need a variance.
But there's 2 of them.
there's this one on the north facade, and they want the two signs on the,
South side.
So,
east-west side.
so it's, if you added that one in,
East side.
that whole, one of the either bigger, smaller, whichever one you count, if you said the front, we're gonna have a 100 square foot variance in a 75, we have 175 there, right, beyond what's allowed. And then, so then you're adding a whole nother sign that's not permitted, so to speak, so that whole thing would, in my calculations, would be, what'd you say the square footage was?
42.
42.
For the,
So you-
for the
so you'd
two
add-
signs plus the address.
So you, yeah, so you had just roughly 100 plus 25,
Well, no, I think,
42.
I think this sign, this 42 feet, they're allowed 40 feet.
If you can only have
For
one,
both, for both, they're allowed.
Is
one-
this two
one
entities
entity-
though, or one entity?
It's
I heard it
two,
was,
so that's two right there.
I heard it was one entity
So,
earlier.
looking
No,
at.
they're two,
No.
looking upwards and Lily Frog.
but if you're allowed.
And that owns,
Looking upwards runs Lily Frog.
But it's,
Lily Frog is a school. They're all in the same building.
and they're two separate, completely separate entities?
No, Lily Frog is a subsidiary.
That makes it one entity.
we're
right?
treating
Well,
it,
either way, it's the same square footage, you just divide it in half.
Well, if it was two entities, you'd have 40 and 40.
You don't get double. It's divided in half. If you have
Okay,
if you have a
okay.
40 square, you get
it's
20.
it's two businesses.
Yeah.
So it's two different businesses. There's an umbrella company, but it's two different businesses. Right, so it's two entities, two different businesses. One owns the other one runs it, but they're still two distinct businesses. They do two different things. Does that make sense?
Like if
Not to me.
if there's two people own a house, each of you own 50%, right? One person owns, you own 100, but combined, they're still 50. Go on, whatever. Bad analogy. Been a long day.
Because this sign is on the west side of.
This side is on the north side.
This sign faces the parking lot.
Ah, okay.
So to clarify though, the sign, it says in the ordinance that a sign, I believe, affixed to the building, you can have one on the
You're right. this is
frontage
the west
side of the road, correct?
Excuse me?
You're allowed one side on the frontage side of the road, wall mount within the,
It doesn't matter if it's frontage side, it's building front.
can you have two wall mount signs in the building?
You can have one wall-mounted sign.
Okay, so they've got two.
Well, three. Well,
Well, we've got two facing East Main Road.
Yes.
And then we have these two, 42 square feet, plus the address
Yeah.
on the north side.
I guess my comment earlier was that you can have however many signs you want. It's either on this face or this face of the building is permitted within the ordinance. Is that correct? So if you have the 40, you just say it's the 40 square feet, you can have 20 and 20, and that fits. I'm just trying to get down to the baseline of what fits and how above the actual ordinance there are, regardless of the special use piece of it.
I think if it makes any difference, Mr. Chair, the one thing about these signs is that they're not public facing. In other words, they're north side facing a parking lot. You can't see them from the street. The only people who are going to see them are people who are coming in to specifically go to that building, to specifically drop their kids off at Lily Frog or to have a meeting at Looking Upwards. They're not publicly facing at all.
Understood. I'm just,
and I'd have to say from a practical point of view, when I drove up there, I got lost driving around this little.
yeah, it's not easy.
And our ordinance is for a 2-by-2 foot sign that I think I would have blown right past.
Well, but it's an issue for a lot of the businesses on East Main Road. I mean, the company I work with has a business there, and the signage is an issue, but that's what
Yeah.
the zoning says. I mean, I don't have a problem in the back.
Mhm.
I mean, that's 42 feet. I mean, it's roughly, without measuring, the size of that opening with two doors in this one, it says 6 feet. Okay, 6 feet by 7 feet. roughly.
Yeah.
Close. That's, that to me is a big sign.
It's a big building, no offense.
Yeah, but all you're trying to do is show where the building is or where the entry is, and people are
Well,
parked. I'm not talking about all.
No, you're absolutely right, because it's,
Big sign, considering the variance, where a
Yeah.
smaller sign will still show them where the building is.
Because they've already gotten there. They're already parked in front
well,
of your building.
they're at the top of the hill at that point. They've come around that second sign and they're starting to go down, but there's a building on your left, there's a building on your right, and then there's our building directly in front of you. So you need something, I believe, in order to let people know. Now, could it be 5 by 6 as opposed to 6 by 7? I'm not married to 6 by 7, but I think something needs to be there. And again, as I said earlier, from my perspective, it's not public facing. You've got to be in and going to the building.
So the precedent to have 200-square-foot signs where normally people are only allowed 40 square feet for buildings that are set back as well.
With all due respect, ma'am, precedent, from my perspective, is relevant if you have a similar situation. If you don't have a similar situation, precedent doesn't apply.
Where buildings and companies are set back from the road. I can tell you because
Okay, I'm not arguing the point. No, but I'm just talking about this particular one where this is not the setback. This is on a non-public facing side of the building.
No, but this is a public.
This one, yes, but we're talking about two different signs. I just want to be clear. This one is, they're large. I mean, obviously, it's 125 square feet and 100 square feet.
More than welcome to come. Can you just state your name and
Okay,
swear in for,
I'm Carrie Miranda. I'm the Executive Director of Looking Upwards. I swear to tell the truth. Thank you for allowing us to be here to discuss this issue. Appreciate it. I'd like to just speak to the couple of things. We're flexible with the sizes on the signs. I want to speak to a couple of issues. We've been actively in the space since July and happy to be here in Portsmouth doing the work of Looking Upwards in Lily Frog. Some of the challenges we faced for both of our businesses here is that people are having a hard time getting and finding both businesses. And my concern is the traffic safety on East Main Road. That's a really dangerous road, as we all know who live and work here. And I'm really concerned about people stopping, slowing down. I come out, I live in Portsmouth, I come out East Main Road. Can't tell you that I have missed turning onto Beaupre and have had to go by, turn around and come back to turn in. It's a pretty frequent event. So I am pretty concerned for people who are saying, I don't know how to find you. I think that people are going to be distracted and looking for it. I think if we need to look at adjusting the signs of those, maybe in this picture, it looks big. If you drive by the building, it doesn't look as large when you see it not in this photograph. I can tell you, you see our playground up. I think these pictures maybe don't do it justice, but I'm also really invested in the idea of having the signage coming up around the building. We partnered with Nick King, who owns the property that we're adjacent to. We've established a contract with him and his crew to make sure that we're all agreeable about the size and scope of those signs. If we need to adjust those as well, we're amenable to that. And if the sign on the back of the building is of concern as far as what you're looking at, we can discuss that as well. But what we really just want people to do is not be lost amongst boats and not be lost amongst parking lot and not be distracted driving, because I don't want people hitting the people that are working in the other buildings and hitting my staff. And we have small children. We have, as Jeff pointed out, we have infants up to 5 years old, and I don't want people getting hit in the parking lot. So those are the concerns.
Perhaps
A lot of
if we-
traffic safety issues with this, and I think that we want to just resolve those traffic safety issues for Portsmouth folks and for us.
I have no problem with the signage on the side and getting you into the
Thank
property.
you. Appreciate that.
And I understand that you need that. I think this, you've brought people into the property. I think the sign at the back of your building is just a little bit big.
Sure.
Because I think it's setting, I believe it does set precedent, because there's a lot of businesses who would like bigger signs. It's a huge issue. The front of the building, when you see it from the street, and I think it's a pity your photos, the photos in here didn't show it from the street, because I think you realize a lot more setback.
Yeah.
I also think for the sign on the back of the building, when you make as you come into this property, there's a directional sign that makes you turn right. There's another directional sign that makes you turn right. And when you make that second right, that's where you'll be then looking for the third sign. So the third sign, even though that doorway is pretty, it's a big sign, the doorway or the building is still quite a ways away.
200 feet.
And possibly if we went to the photo,
Yeah.
to a site plan, we could see the distance. I'm not sure if the sign's gonna look huge or not, but I know the sign will be pretty far away.
It will be, and it's high on the building. So we were looking at it. It's 200, Tom was just confirming for us, it was a 200 feet, it's 200 feet from that top of that hill to the buildings.
And I believe there's a jog you have to take. Like
With
you
the
can,
jog, yeah.
if I go straight, I end up at the Quantum guys, I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
You
And-
can, yeah,
And
we can end up in their loading dock, and that's what we don't want staff to do, is end up or folks dropping off children in the loading dock. I mean,
so the big sign there might be justified because it's gonna attract people's attention and tell them, bear to the left.
but we could shrink that by, what were you saying, the,
4x5?
go to 4x5, look at.
I don't see a reason, I've been up there too, and I have to admit I got lost as well. But, I don't see any reason for these signs to be this large. I just don't. Once you're there, you're looking for it. You're going there to look for a place. I mean, I'm nearsighted, but I'm not that nearsighted. Any sign would have helped. 2x2 would have been just fine, because I'm looking for it. I was looking for your place, and I couldn't find it. But I don't think you need a giant sign, which is really just a form of advertising, rather than leading you to it. And why go down that path where other businesses aren't allowed to? That's my feeling.
Do we know how big, and I don't mean to kind of jump around, but do we know how large the existing visiting nurses sign is or was? And while we're looking at this photo here, is that sign remaining there? Was that a visiting nurse sign in the stone, or what is that now?
That's, we have a temporary sign in that stone.
So is there a sign going back there? Or is that temporary sign part of this?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
So
Mr. Chair.
I'm looking at it as
The
a
ones
whole.
on the front of the building? There was a visiting nurse sign on the
Yeah,
front of the
so
building.
just to get a
In the
reference.
stone.
I was just trying to get a reference on how large that
Yeah.
sign was, and my second question was, but
So, my name is Denise Lucier, and I promise to tell the truth. I'm the communications officer for 345 River Avenue. What was the question?
I was just trying to get a perspective. I'm familiar and I've been around, so I understand the need for the signs in the back. I'm just trying to get just a reference or like a holistic approach to what we've got here. So how big, or roughly how big is that sign, the old visiting nurses sign that was previous in the building?
I don't know how large that sign is. We had it removed. Transcom had one all the way across previously.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you know how large, well, how large was,
Roughly is okay. Sure, yes, yeah.
Because they have a new fence, still signage. So you have a smaller sign and a closer fence.
Good evening, members. My name is Tom Castleman. I lived here for a long time. I've been in the sign business, 365 Riverside Street, Portsmouth, Rhode Island. I've been in the sign business since 1974. Every major development in the state that I've done. Bowens, Bannisters, Brick Marketplace, Christie's Landing, numerous schools, churches, other entities you drive by every day. But to enter your question, okay, I'm responsible for this design usage plan. We walked this property numerous times, talked to the existing landlord that's adjacent to this, tried to come up with a solution that even he said was confusing, particularly as you come to the top, as you had mentioned before, what we call a branded sign helps identify and reaffirm by color and typography the fact that this is Lily Frog and looking upwards. The other signs are, of course, directional signs only. And as we make that left turn going across diagonally, there is that wall sign that is 6 feet by 7 feet tall, including the radius on top. That sight line is nearly 200 feet on a wall that's not seen anywhere.
Do you know the size of the visiting nurse sign?
From what I understand, and I had actually people who made that sign and took those signs down. They're very small. And from what I understand from them was the signs were completely ineffective. They were really inexpensive signs. They had no visibility on the frontage, either going up the hill, and no visibility on the front facing East Main Road. So some of this is perspective in terms of laying out signs for the client's use, but also in reality, as you saw from the street view, it's quite a bit distance back from where the actual sight lines would be.
Thank you. And how about the other sign? Is that one going to remain and should that be in this packet? Because it's,
Yeah, like,
we're including a decision based on these signs. Is that other sign that's at the street, should that be, if it's still going to remain, shouldn't that be?
You can split them up between directional signs
Yeah.
and building signs.
The one that's at the bottom of the street here, is that sign going to be there?
Yeah, that's a permitted sign.
Oh, that one is, so then,
But that's
but
gonna
it's-
change now,
It,
right?
it already
No.
has changed.
We're not proposing to change that one.
It's just, it's a like kind change. It's the same size.
But
So
that is still another signage that they've got as part
it's
of
an
this.
on-premise sign that's allowed. It's not a building sign, it's a monument sign that's allowed.
okay.
I see, it's different, it's
Yes.
monument sign.
Yes,
Okay.
it's different.
Thank you.
Lot to this. I guess my last question is, is a lot of your business, is it driving up or is it people that are looking for signing up and coming on a routine basis? Like, once they go once and find it, are they going to
Well, they're
have to
gonna-
look for the sign every time or they're gonna kind of muscle memory back there? So is the large sign, my question is I kind of agree with the back. My challenge is with the large ones on the front. Because once you go sign up, like what I'm used to, we just go, it doesn't even need a sign.
I think the problem that we have without having, significant signs in the front is there's a large likelihood that you're gonna whiz right past the building on East Main, simply because you're not gonna be able to see it without.
But from heading south, you're not gonna see it because of the tree.
Well, correct, but,
You know what, you actually can. Here's it.
Yeah.
We've been driving by and looking at the building. That was why the decision was made to have to replace.
Yeah.
What's your question? I'm gonna answer these questions, many of you guys. Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem.
Sorry, thank you.
Sorry, we have to be official.
But there's ongoing enrollment, like there's
Mhm.
students that are in the class now, but there are families that continue to come
Mhm.
and tour. And, that goes on periodically throughout the year. And given it's a, infant through pre-K, the turnover is continual. So, that-
we're having
yeah.
significant people obviously coming to the business, looking upwards for meetings and.
And if the property had not been split, like when it was just one property, I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. You would have a sign on our neighbor's property, which is 1170, you would have a sign right on the entrance. And even the fact that you're bringing that up just says that's the norm. And so because it's a norm, that's what people expect. So I think we have a bigger challenge for people to actually understand this is the building.
Yes.
So our thought was if they see that that's the building, when they wind through, they already have at least an anchor point Whereas if we don't have that clarity, then, you know, people are doing a breadcrumb trail bit by bit through the property, trying to guess where they're going.
So,
So,
Thank you.
so Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Lorenzo that once I turn onto, is it called Beaucamp?
Beauchamp.
Pardon me?
Beaupre.
Beaupre, then our ordinance would call for, because it's two entities, an eight square foot directional sign. And that, you know, in absent any other information, that should be sufficient for a directional sign where you make the right turn off of that road. And then sign number 2 is another directional sign where you get another 8 square feet of signage.
So you're referencing that one?
Yes, yeah, that this one will need to be compressed to be 8 square feet.
Well, but that's obviously what the special use variance, that's why we're here, is to make this one 3 by 3 and the other one 4 by 5, so that they're actually seeable from where you're going up that drive, as you indicated yourself. Hard to know where you're going.
Well, when I went up it, there was no signage.
No,
But
I
the-
understand.
But the ordinance as written, I would presume that an 8 square foot sign would be sufficient.
But we don't believe that it is, sir.
And-
That's why we're asking for the variance.
Right, so what makes you think it's not sufficient other than bigger is better?
I don't think it has anything to do with bigger is better. I just think that it's appropriate when you have as many people as we're talking about coming in. And, you know, there are times, I'll use the analogy because I hate this personally. You're driving on the highway or you're driving on a road and somebody doesn't know where they're going. And they decide to stop in the middle of the street so that they can look around to see what their bearings are. And they don't think about the people who are behind them braking short so that they don't run into the back of them. That's the problem that's going to happen here with all the parents coming with their children to drop them off and with other people who may be coming in for meetings if they don't know where they're going. And I think that in that particular location where you've really come up a hill, you've got a huge building on your right, so you can't see around. You've got trees and whatnot in front of you, open field. You need to have a sign big enough that's going to be able to say, this is where you want to go. And then as soon as you make that right turn, you've got a smaller sign, but still significant. I mean, 1 square foot versus what the ordinance says, I'm not sure is that difficult to, again, because you've got all those boats back there. You've got a loading dock to your right. You need to be able to find out where you're going. And I think those 2 signs are significant and necessary in order to make sure that it's a safe place to drive, to drop your kids off, to have access to the building and have access to the property. The signs on the building, as we've said, we can be flexible. I understand your concerns of precedent. I understand your concerns of size. And, you know, we're happy to work with you. But I think these 2 signs, the directional signs, are really important.
If we go back to the first, to the larger sign, I'm still unclear on why, whatever that size of that is, if you can scroll up a bit. 4 by 5.
4 by 5.
Why is 4 by 5 the right number and not, say, 3 by 3?
From my perspective, 4 by 5 can be seen from a further distance as I'm coming up that hill, as opposed to my being right on top of it where it's a 2 by 2 sign and I can barely see it.
Isn't that a dead end?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is a dead end, but I didn't know it was a dead end until I got all the way up there.
Well, you probably slowed down To be honest.
You don't know how I drive.
Oh.
But it is a dead end. But the other problem, of course, is that there's a parking lot. When you make that right turn, there's a parking lot right on your left for the building that's on your right. So you've got people crossing, you've got other people going up there. I just think that it's important to have a sign that you can see coming up that hill. So you're not right on top of the hill before you know where you're going.
So the problem as I see it, if you're driving along East Main Road, there's no signage on East Main Road saying you need to go up whatever it's called, Beaupré, right? So how do people, when they're driving past, how do they know to even go up to
The monument sign indicates to go to the light to make a right.
Well, if I'm heading north on East Main Road and I come up to that light, will I be able to see any signage?
Signage on the building.
Way over there.
You'll be-
Yeah, so you can drive past it.
Signage on that building.
Right, but there's nothing that tells me to turn, to make a left turn here.
We haven't resolved that issue yet, but
So would that be something, there would be another sign for that, or how?
we haven't, that was part of the reason why we wanted the signage on the building.
Because the signage on the building, it seems to me, it would tell you to make the next left turn, which is the one-way road.
Is there room on, I apologize, is there room in that sign on the corner there for a sign there, at the entrance? And
Yeah,
stuff?
we've discussed that with the owner of of 1170, and that's possible solution there.
Except that sign on that corner there says is for 1170.
Right.
So that's going to be problematic in terms of
Oh, it's not the same.
it's not for 1184,
Right.
which is our building.
Right, so we discussed putting signage there, and that has been in discussion, but we really wanted to resolve the rest of the signage issues first.
So hopefully, if it stays as 4x5, you can see it from East Main Road as you're about to drive past. Go off the road.
You mean,
I just got a couple
Okay.
of thoughts. I know you guys put a lot of thought into this. I could hear you have all these answers, questions answered. For the small little signs in the back, do we need the address number? Because if you're going for looking upwards, maybe you can drop that bottom sheet, so you lose a foot there. That might be closer
The
to
1184.
1184. You know, if you're not necessarily looking for 1184, you're looking for looking upwards. So that might save you a little bit, get closer. And also the signs on the front, have you thought about maybe putting it on the fences and allowing you to put a smaller one because you're much closer to the road? So people, you wouldn't need a 4 by 25 square foot. You could do something smaller because it's much closer to you.
I think it's going to be really difficult to, when you're driving and you're looking hopefully at the road, so you don't have an accident, to look to your right for a building. I think your eyes naturally go up as opposed to going straight.
It is a
to
beautiful
the
fence. I saw you guys put it up. It's a good fence.
So if I can respond to that, we have temporary signage on the fences right now that are, it's a plastic type temporary sign for both businesses. I drive by it, I look at it, it's hard to see when you're driving.
I couldn't even see it.
It's so close to the road, I don't think it's safe to be expecting that people would look at that. I appreciate that suggestion. What we feel is going to give people a glancing view of something. What you want is somebody to see a name fast, as opposed to, that's why we worked hard with our brand, to be able to see the letters, the signage quickly, because they're driving down a road quickly. That's at the bottom, at the end of the day, you want to say Lily Frog. You want to see looking upwards. I say, I know where looking upwards is. I know where Lily Frog is. If we need to make those signs a bit smaller on that building, that placement, we've looked at it from every angle. We looked at it with all the leaves on the trees. We've looked at it and can say that you can see it coming up the hill and you can see it coming down the hill. I don't know how much of a hill it is, but you know what I'm talking about from each direction. And that's what we found to be the most effective place for the signage without trying to put signs everywhere.
So I think we've had a good discussion, we've made progress, and I like the idea of taking out off the number, maybe keeping it on the building. but taking it off the sign, and that reduces the area. On the front of the building, would you be open to having the name and not this little symbol for each?
Yeah.
On the front?
Yes.
And then we can reduce the overall size considerably.
Yes.
If you didn't have the little
Yeah, and we could
frog.
take the sun off of it on the other signage as
Yeah.
well to shrink it.
Yeah.
On the back side of the building, we could take the sun off.
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
we want to, what's the best way to approach this? Like, I don't think this is something we're gonna, I don't want to force you to make a decision. Is there a way to further discuss it, or are you trying to get an answer tonight? I don't want to jeopardize your logo on another, you know, there's a lot of opinions here, and I just think,
Can I?
Can we separate out the directional signs from the building signs?
I think that would be
I think
a
that's a good
great
idea.
idea. I think that I personally, you know, I get back there, it's confusing, and it's not truly visible. There's just a lot of non-conforming things, and granted, that special use that we vote on is a case-by-case basis, so to speak. But with that other, who's the wild card? But you've got that other sign that you might get your name on, so then we're gonna add a sixth sign that we're gonna get 5 here, and then we're gonna add a sixth, because by right, you can just, I would assume, do it, right? If they allowed you. So it's just a lot of signage for a building that we're not normally supposed to have. And granted,
I think we just need some time to look at the signs, to see how much smaller we can get them and to still be visible from the street as you're going by, to be usable on the backside. But, you know, if we can continue the building sign variance and deal with the directional sign issue, and that will give us an opportunity to look into building signs and the size of them, that would be
Yeah.
great.
well, it's all but these two, is that correct?
And the back.
And the one in the back.
And the one on the
So
north side.
it's
So we
these
would
I don't know where that page, I don't know where that page went. I printed it. And it's not, I think they're very tastefully done. I think they do fit. I just think when I come up here next time and somebody comes with another petition, you're kind of like,
We appreciate.
you know, and I'm not trying to, I don't really want to see you compromise the logo for the sake of the sign, so to speak, right? Because that is your brand. So I think if we can divide it up, and then maybe we could,
I think 4, 11, and 12 are the building signs, my phrase, and 2 and 3 are the directional signs. So we can look at, you know, we could certainly, if you agree to continue that part of it to whenever your next meeting is, gives us an opportunity to look at dealing with that size.
so the wall, the other wall sign, we're just gonna.
So these two ones sorry, voting on two.
These two, yes, yeah, I got that.
And
So,
then we continue the others until next month and see if they can come back with something.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know where my thing is.
Can I make a comment here? I mean, the part of the confusion when I go, that's the only entrance to 1184, right? Correct?
At Beaupre, correct.
That sign right on East Main Road would be the real key to making this not confusing to get in and out of there.
I'm sorry,
Is
say
that
that again, sir?
That would be the key to make this not confusing for me anyway,
Yep.
when I went up there, in addition to the other 2 signs. But no sign on that road. You did have a sign that said turn right at the light. That was helpful. It wouldn't have been helpful if I was headed north on East Main Road. I would have had to turn around. So is there a way to solve that main problem, having a sign on East Main Road on that property? Because it is the entrance to 1184.
So it isn't our property. We would have to request the other property owner.
There's a signed plaque on there that they showed a picture of that. That's existing, that's not on their property. This is just a street.
No, I know that, but it also is the only way to get into, you have an easement to get into the
It's not
property.
not their property, that's a road. It's a road.
And in fact, when you,
Well, who owns the corner of that property? Yeah, okay, so I'm looking to see if there's a visible sign that can be placed.
Now, when you,
But then you'll have to get an easement and they'll have to get a whole. I mean, I'm thinking if the sign, it's a pretty big sign, number 2, and hopefully when people are coming, they will see it. And once they know where it is, they'll know. So it's that very first visit, if they're coming north, that they have to drive slowly, which I know doesn't happen.
Aaron, how do we divide this up? What's the proper way to split would be the word, or how do you?
I mean, that's where you gotta ask for butters. Interested parties before you vote. But I mean, I think you can make a motion on the directional signs, but I still think it's still one petition, and ultimately there's gotta be a decision that's recorded and subject to, the appeal period.
Can you make a decision based on a stipulation for the other 3? Like I approve or deny these 2 in
Well, you could,
a
I mean,
condition that you've got to come back
you
next month?
you could just continue it, the whole petition to the next month.
But we don't wanna hold
I
it.
wanna hold
on
their
getting
sign up.
Because we think the directional signage they need, so we don't wanna hold out that signage. I mean, we basically saying, can we split the application into 2? I mean, they may need to submit a new one just showing
Can
the
we-
building ones.
I guess, so you would do a decision on the directional and then sever the remainder of the request.
We'll continue the other. You
Yeah.
will.
yeah, continue, so we don't have to pay another fee.
You could continue.
Would that be, could you do that as a condition, so if we X this one, and the other one we approve based on coming back next month? That doesn't work, right?
I actually don't know.
You know what I mean? If you put a condition on something, and the condition can you just put a condition, we approve, but the condition is we've got to all agree next month to avoid coming up with a whole nother petition?
Yeah, it's the
It's
same, it
kind
is,
of a-
If you do it that way, Mr. Chair, I think what happens is if you don't all agree on the condition, then that invalidates your approval of the directional.
Okay.
And I would have a problem with that for just that reason.
Okay.
Not that I don't think there's gonna be approval and that we can come to an arrangement on the building signs, but I would be concerned about putting a condition like that as opposed to simply proving, if that's what you decide, the directionals and continuing until next month, the issue of the building signs.
Yeah, that's, as long as we can,
But theoretically,
one petition.
there could be there's an appeal period. Theoretically, someone could appeal.
But they can appeal that decision and still, and not
Right,
not have to
they
appeal.
want to resolve, I mean, you get a vote of the board. I mean, I think what the consensus is here, they'd like to approve or vote on the directional signs so you can proceed with those.
Correct. That's my understanding.
But it's still going to be ultimately subject to, if you proceed based on the vote of the board tonight, there's still, ultimately, at the end of this hearing, there's going to be a decision that will have to be recorded and subject to
Appeal. I understand.
I mean, it's highly unlikely someone's going to appeal.
No, but I understand that there's still an appeal at the end.
Anytime someone proceeds, it's always at the petitioner's risk if they proceed based on but I mean, I think the risk is minuscule. If at least you have a vote of the board on the directionals, at least you have that.
Correct.
I
That would be
think-
my preference.
If I can ask when I'm on Beaupre, and then I go up Beaupre almost to the end, and I make a right turn, is there a sign there that says no trespassing?
Yes,
Okay, all right, yeah, I seem to remember that, that's not, okay.
yes. there is.
You went anyway?
I did.
Would Brett talk to you afterward about that?
All right, sorry for I'm still not sure what the right
It sounds like we
course
can,
of action is here.
that we can.
And I appreciate you being open to that. I think just a little more
No, we.
conversation would be great. And maybe another drive-by, we could take a look and understand it a little more, just because it is a lot, but I do understand it's not a normal size.
Because I
building.
have to tell you, and I drive past there a lot, and I see your temporary sign on, and I thought, oh, that's cool, and I wonder what you guys
looks
did,
good.
because it is noticeable on the fence. It is very readable, and, I mean, I didn't know what it was for, because I don't have little kids.
But just sort of like, just sort of step back, a little
Mhm.
housekeeping as well. If I understand it, if the board were to proceed to vote on the directional signs, you could make and decides to approve it, you could make that motion, make that vote, and then continue the hearing to the next meeting. And, but ultimately, there'll be one decision.
Yes, yes.
And the applicant can proceed at its own risk based on at least having a vote of the board.
Okay, so now we'll ask for abutters or interested parties.
And then again, to do that twice.
And we're basically doing the petition twice. Okay. Does that work?
I think we'll vote on the draft.
I did. Again?
And there's no one.
And there's no.
Spanish? Okay, well, with that said, so we're gonna vote on, we're gonna make a motion to vote on signs 2B and 3B. We're gonna do it again next month.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we vote on signs
2B and 3B.
2B and 3B.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Ferrell, you're gonna lead us off?
Mr. Chairman, I vote to approve those two signs as designed. I can accept that that size is necessary to provide safe and effective access to your building.
Okay. Ms. Horowitz?
I vote to approve for reasons previously stated.
Are we not gonna remove the address to get closer, or is that address staying?
I think we're,
Okay.
meaning,
I vote to approve that as well, reasons previously stated.
you skipped this gentleman. It's Mr. Lorenzo?
I vote to approve as well for reasons previously stated.
The chairman also votes to approve, for reasons stated by my peers. I appreciate the conversation, and I think, it's all very tastefully done, and I understand the meaning, and we want it to be safe. It's not so much this, it's looking in the past and moving forward. I'm a little newer than some here, so this seat, but,
You did good.
just doing our due diligence, so.
Thank you,
we
Mr. Chair. I appreciate it.
and-
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I'd also like to say that, oh, yes, yes, okay. So I move that we continue this application to the regularly scheduled meeting of 21st of November to address the
Three remaining signs.
the three remaining signs on the building.
Is it 11, 12, and the one on the side?
Yes.
It's 4B, 11B, and 12B.
4B,
Okay,
11B,
thank
and
you.
12B.
Second.
Second that? Yep. Go ahead, you decide.
Oh,
First,
All in favor?
all in favor?
aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Just by next session.
Aye.
I'd also like to say that I appreciate your nonprofit work, that you've been around for 40 years supporting developmentally challenged adults and children, and I'm glad to you guys found a home when you left Middletown.
Yes. Well, thank you. We'll see you next month. Have a great night.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One of these days.